Science Report is sponsored by the National Foundation of Federal Federation Endorsed Endowments for Educational Succinctness and Bob's Beaker Hut.
Hello there, science students, and welcome to Science Report. I'm your host, Dr. Carl Thunstrom. Today, we're going to study the scientific method, the thought process that allows a professional researcher to go about analyzing any kind of mystery in a well-organized, common-sense fashion. Basically, the scientific method is the only way to grapple with difficult issues, even those which seem at first to be beyond comprehension. The true scientist uses a clear, four-step process in approaching any problem. Let's talk about the 4 steps of the scientific method. First, get a precise definition of the problem. Second, meticulously research the subject and arrive at a hypothesis or educated guess. Third, test the hypothesis with a scientific experiment. And fourth, arrive at a conclusion, either to accept or to reject the hypothesis. Well, now that we have a general understanding of the scientific method, let's watch a film taken of 2 courageous and dedicated young scientists, Bronson and Pippa, using the method we've just been talking about. For step 1, our scientists have chosen to investigate the question posed by the world-famous German botanical nutritionist, Dr. Heinrich Langtod. That question: is Cucurbita mishata, the butternut squash, a hazard to human health? Here we have Bronson and Pippa busily engaged in step number 2 of the scientific method, learning everything they can about butternut squash. What are some of the different ways you can think of to obtain information about the butternut squash? How about visiting a squash expert? Well, it looks like Bronson and Pippa have found just such a person, a botanist, a scientist who studies plants. Here, the botanist waters a herd of squash. Following their consultation with the expert, our scientists set out to learn more about the squash through direct observation. Here, Bronson mechanically obtains a core sample. Sometimes, a library can yield incredibly useful information. While browsing in the squash section, our scientists come across actual videotapes made by Dr. Langtod just before his mysterious death.
exploding. I think he's exploding. Come and run! Come and run!
Let's watch that sequence again, this time with the incisive commentary of the late Dr. Lungtoe.
Yeah, we have 3 important events to notice. Number 1, there is a man who eats lots and lots of squash. And number 2, the man then stands close to the heat source, the industrial oven. And number 3, the people run away in panic after the fiery explosion of the man.
It becomes obvious that, indeed, butternut squash may, in some way, be responsible for seriously affecting human beings. Our scientists decide that an even closer examination of the squash will be necessary. With the aid of a well-equipped, sophisticated laboratory and its highly trained personnel, they set about determining the squash's intimate chemical nature. Using a precisely calibrated reverse osmosis implosion generator, Bronson and Pippa are able to break down the squash into its elemental sludge. Do you have any clue what that molecule is? Any idea? Observe! Our scientists have arrived at their hypothesis. They theorize that squash causes a buildup of an unstable element close to uranium, which appears to be abundant in the butternut squash. When exposed to a heat source, this radioactive material somehow becomes critical and fission ensues. The next step in the scientific method is, of course, to test the hypothesis in an experiment. But what have Bronson and Pippa left out of their experiment? That's right, the control. We now join the 2 scientists as they make their final adjustments to their experimental groups, composed of willing college volunteers. Notice how carefully they collect their data. Good for Bronson and Pippa. They have their control group. Now, this is a real scientific experiment. We are about to find out whether or not Bronson and Pippa's hypothesis is correct. Well, that brings us to the end of this episode of Science Report. I hope you've come to a better understanding of the scientific method now that we've discussed it and you've seen Bronson and Pippa apply it. Until next time, I'm your host, Dr. Carl Thunstrom, saying, may science be with you.